So I recently did a video basically letting you all know, for those who didn't know, that Jason Blum, of course, at Blumhouse, was going to be rebooting the Exorcist franchise with a direct sequel to the original, much in the same vein that he did with Halloween 2018. Something that's kind of been coined the term of a legacy sequel, kind of like Texas Chainsaw 3D. I hate to throw that back out there, but something along those lines where you forget all the subsequent sequels, you just go back to the original and you make a sequel to that film. It seems to be one of the more popular things to do these days, even if you're not making a direct sequel and ignoring things, just to name a movie something that kind of seems like that's what it is. Kind of like with Scream 2022. It's got a lot to do with marketing, and it's got a lot to do with the fact that there have been a lot of sequels to some of these franchises, and a lot of people don't want to watch a whole bunch of sequels to feel as if they're up to par to see this one. So that was the plan. Now that plan has moved further. Without the first film even being made, it looks as if Universal and Peacock are going to be spending $400 million on not just a reboot or a legacy sequel to The Exorcist, but a brand new trilogy that is going to effectively be a sequel trilogy to the original. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? It sounds to me like Jason Blum has an idea of what he wants to do with these horror properties. Seems to me that he may be jumping the gun, though, here. Because let's be real here. They didn't announce Halloween Kills or Halloween Ends until well after Halloween 2018 had already been in theaters, and they saw the massive box office performance that it did. So I'm not sure if he's really jumping the gun here. But I still have my reservations about doing this film. I go back to what I said in the previous video about this topic. Of course, the original Exorcist is a classic. Love it. Wasn't big on the sequel. Really enjoyed the third one. And then the two prequels, wasn't really a fan of those either. So other than the original film and Part 3, which was a pretty big divergence from what 1 and 2 had really been about, I gotta say, this franchise, in my opinion, has more stinkers than winners. Let's just say that. But we'll dig into the article here. Also, one more thing that I did think was interesting. I don't want to shit on this, I don't want to crap all over it, but apparently Ellen Burstyn, who played Mrs. McNeil in the original film, the mother, will be returning to reprise that role. So that is one thing that, it's cool to see her back. But you got to wonder why, I guess, why not go for Linda Blair if you're going to do that as well? So let's jump in. Let's read this article. Let's get educated before we jump to any conclusions, as I already have started to do. So, major breaking news will have your head spinning. Who wrote this? Brad. Okay. Universal Pictures has teamed up with Peacock to close a $400 million plus mega deal to buy a new Exorcist trilogy. This reported in the New York Times. Donna Langley, a film studio's chairwoman, teamed with Peacock, NBC Universal's fledgling streaming service, to make the purchase, which is expected to be announced this week. According to 3 people briefed on the matter, these people who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss the still private deal said the price was in the vicinity of $465 million that Netflix paid in March for 2 sequels to the 2019 Whodunit Knives Out. Leslie Odom Jr. will star in a new Exorcist trilogy, the first of which is confirmed to be directed by David Gordon Green. I got to tell you, this really just, don't get me wrong. I like a lot of Blumhouse features. I think Jason Blum has done solid work as a producer. But this is just thus far, a copy paste of his approach with Halloween. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It just is what it is. Step one, obtain a large, popular horror franchise. Step two, make a new trilogy of those that only regard the original and none of the sequels. And step three, get David Gordon Green to direct it. Now, once again, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I have enjoyed David Gordon Green's work on Halloween. I have enjoyed Blumhouse's take on Halloween thus far. But you got to say, I guess the man has a business model when it comes to these type of things. I guess he's going to stick to it. But anyway, back to the article. Quote, I'm telling you that thing upstairs isn't my daughter. I guess that was just okay, we're just going to put that in the middle of the article, a quote from the film. All right. In more surprising news, Oscar winner Ellen Burstyn will reprise her role as Chris McNeil from the 1973 classic Mother to the possessed and tortured Reagan McNeil, of course, played by Enda Blair, according to this article. As far as story details, Odom Jr. will play the father of a possessed child. Hey, go figure. Desperate for help, he tracks down Mrs. Burstyn's character. Okay, all right. I kind of see where we're starting here. The cast confirms this new Exorcist trilogy won't be a remake, but a successor, similar to what Green did with John Carpenter's Halloween. Green went on record about the film just last week. Scott Teems, Danny McBride, and David Gordon Green teamed up for the story, being penned by Peter Sattler. Once again, those are some very familiar names in Teems and McBride. And David Gordon Green, of course. Blumhouse is producing with Morgan Creek Entertainment. The first film of the trilogy will be released theatrically on October 13th, 2023. So we've got a while to wait. But that's a good thing. That's a good thing that they're going to really work on this, and they've set their release date over 2 years into the future at this point. So that's a good thing. I know it sucks to wait to see things you may want to see, but just take into consideration the amount of time and energy and effort that's being put into it when these projects are, a little far away. Rob Zombie's The Munsters is also rumored to be a Universal Peacock co-production. I will probably skip that one, at least theatrically, if I'm being honest. The Exorcist franchise hasn't been on the big screen since 2005 release of Dominion, prequel to The Exorcist, an alternative version of the previous year's Exorcist: The Beginning. Cannot begin to tell you how dumb that is, by the way, to release, in essence, the same film, two different takes on it, a year apart. That right there lets you know that the franchise wasn't exactly doing too well the last time it was on the big screen. Just my opinion. But yeah. Let's see here. Those films came out of the wake of 1977's The Exorcist II, The Heretic, and 1990's The Exorcist III. Yes. More recently, The Exorcist became a short-lived television series at Fox, which was surprisingly excellent and cleverly took place in the same world as the original classic. Now, I have to say one thing. I am behind. I have not seen the television show, so I cannot speak to the effectiveness of that television show. But what I can say, once again, is I am on the fence about this. I am. I kind of feel like, and this is coming from a guy who gets really excited about franchises that I really enjoy coming back with sequels and prequels and remakes and reboots and legacy sequels and what have you. But I gotta say, other than the original film, there's only been one film, in my opinion, in this franchise to really stick out and that I would actually want to watch right now. I don't think either of the prequels or the original sequel have rewatch value at all whatsoever. And The Exorcist 3 is going to be effectively ignored in this new film. They're only going to be, following up after the original film. So once again, I mean, this could be a Halloween 2018 scenario, or I think, in my opinion, they nail it out of the park, and the two other sequels in this trilogy are warranted. They could clean up at the box office and make a whole lot of money. That could happen. On the other hand, I don't know, man. I just don't know. It's one of those films that, and I will say this, there's other films that are in this category that they've made things since, and I could say, hey, this actually justifies its existence, So it's hard for me to say with The Exorcist. It's not really like one of my favorite franchises of all time. It's not really in that upper echelon, but you have to pay it its respect, at least for 1 and 3. So there's the information. As you can tell, once again, I am on the fence about this. If they want to spend $400 million, that's fine by me. I will watch what they put out. I will be watching this new Exorcist trilogy starting in 2023. But I am once again on the fence about this thing. I can't say as though right now I am very excited about it, but I am at the very least interested to see what they do with the property. I've said in the past, I think Blumhouse is kind of hit or miss. But when they hit, I think they hit very well. So yeah, that's that. New Exorcist, not just a legacy sequel, but a legacy trilogy, if you will, coming your way starting in 2023.